So
There'll be some giant.
good evening, everyone. My name is Chelsea Jander. I am Senior Park Project Manager. Thank you for joining us this evening. We will be recording this presentation for future reference, and this will also be available on our website. So as I mentioned, my name is Chelsea Jander, Senior Park Project Manager. Myself and David Souls will be giving the presentation this evening. We have DPR representatives as well to help answer any questions you may have after the presentation. Heritage Park is 50 years old this year. The county built the park in 1971 and over a decade moved 7 Victorian buildings from other parts of the city into this park, creating an 1880s style Victorian preserve. Today, the park serves as an amenity for residents and visitors to enjoy. DPR hosts events, including outdoor movies. The park's tea house has daily visitors, and the temple, as well as the back lawn, which is a popular venue for weddings and other events. While the Sunless Cottage, McConaughey House, and the temple are actively used, 4 of the buildings are currently not used and open to the public. The County Board of Supervisors has directed DPR to renovate these interiors as the interiors of these underutilized buildings to create beautiful historic overnight accommodations. There will also be renovations to the existing public restrooms at Sunless Cottage and improvements and new amenities to the outdoor spaces of the park. We have heard that there's some interest to include an outdoor amphitheater or event space, which we envision to be more like an outdoor classroom for daytime events with no amplified sound. We'd like to hear from you if you're interested in this amenity. And we'll get more into that later in the presentation. We're reaching out to you. This is the first to introduce the project and hear your thoughts. This is the first of a series of public meetings that we'll be hosting throughout the project over the course of the next several months and early into next year.
All right, thank you, Chelsea. Eric, if you could go on to the next slide. So we are using the Zoom webinar platform. And hopefully that next slide will come up. It just gives you a little information on how to enter your questions. We'll be using the Q&A feature. So that means just click on the Q&A icon in your toolbar and type in your question. And then we'll either respond directly in the answer section and do our best to address your comment then, or in the live Q&A session at the end of this presentation. So if there are any technology troubles during the meeting, you can always also call in to the number that's posted on our website. And as Chelsea mentioned, we'll have a recorded version that will also be available online, and we'll share the links for this on the project webpage. And just going to give our slideshow a second to catch up if we could get to the 3rd slide in this. So we're just going to give it 1 minute to see if we can get those slides to advance. All right. So I'll try to, I'm going to just continue, save everybody's time with the presentation. And then what we'll do is we'll go back to the images on the slide. But luckily, we're at the very beginning of this design process. So honestly, we don't have that much to show you. Most of it is of the existing park, which I sure like you are very familiar with. Okay, well, there we go. So this is just to show anybody's on their cell phone, on their mobile device. The Q&A button will be down on the bottom. Okay, next slide. This is a meeting roadmap here. So the first public meeting this is the first public meeting that we're holding for this project. And since we're at the beginning of the design process, we're going to keep this very short and follow with as much time as needed for Q&A. So we're going to discuss the general scope of the project first, then provide some background on Heritage Park, then go through the project schedule, and then again, open it up to hear from you all. So there are three main components to this project. First, we have renovating the interiors of the 4 houses and renovate them to be used for overnight accommodations. Then we're making improvements to the existing public restrooms and the park office at Sunless Cottage. And then finally, improving and adding amenities to the outdoor areas of the park. And the intent of this first public meeting is to understand the preferences of the community and to see what amenities you might want to see. So some background. The 7 buildings in the park were all moved here from other parts of the city between 1971 and 1981. This was in an effort by the county and community groups such as Save Our Heritage Organization to preserve examples of Victorian architecture in San Diego as the city was redeveloping. The buildings have been used and occupied on and off over the years. Most recently, Sunless Cottage houses a small park office and public restrooms. And then the other 4 buildings that you see on this slide here have been unoccupied. So the buildings on this slide are the ones that we will be renovating as part of this project. Not shown here is Temple Beth Israel, and that serves as an event space and it's open to the public. And the McConaughey House, which is open as the Coral Tree Tea House. So these 2 buildings will remain as is and not be part of the project. So here we have a very basic timeline. Again, this is the first of our public meetings that we'll hold, and we're currently kicking off the design process. We plan to continue to hold additional public meetings throughout this design process, which we expect will take 1 year. And then construction will follow, planning for late 22 start, completed by 24. So here we go. We want to hear from you today about what types of physical amenities and programming you'd like to see in Heritage Park. Here are some images of past activities. That's Mark Twain on the top there. As many of you are aware, the park has served as a venue for many weddings. And we have our outdoor movie nights that continue to be popular. So just kind of some questions to get folks started. What are your favorite ways to use the park now? What are some other opportunities that you think are there for this park? Is the park's location and its layout conducive to certain activities? And are there additional activities that you think could be built into the park to make it more attractive and make it more active? So here's our little Q&A button again. And we're looking forward to responding to your comments and questions. Just click on that button, ask them. It looks like we have a couple of questions kind of coming in thus far. So we'll open it up now, and I'm going to turn things over to my colleague, Jessica Geisler, who will help moderate the session.
Great, thank you so much, David. Quick presentation, really, because this, as he was saying, this is our first meeting to discuss potential amenities as we work to improve Heritage County Park. But any questions you have, we encourage you to please post them in the Q&A pane at the bottom of your screen. And we have our first few here right now. So we have a question coming in from Jamie. The question is about noise control, if any type of amphitheater or overnight housing would be introduced. Specifically, the question is, what restrictions will be put into place to govern noise, parking, general congestion? And this would be a great question maybe to ask directly of our project manager, and then we could potentially pull in our region manager, Christine. So David, you want to take the first response?
Absolutely, thanks. And I'll start by saying that before this meeting, I started receiving a few emails and phone calls about both noise and traffic concerns. So I want to thank those people. I'm not sure if they're on tonight, but thank them for contacting me. And I want to say, please, 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 throughout this project, at any time, please contact me so we can talk through these things and you can get a better idea of where the county is in our process. And so what our process will be is, first, as part of the design phase, we'll be conducting both traffic and noise studies. So we have a clear understanding of what are the existing conditions, what are the existing constraints as well, I would say, and what types of impacts the design would have. So what types of impacts a small meeting place would have versus a small, more amphitheater type structure versus a type of outdoor classroom. Right now, again, we're at the very beginning of the design, so it's very much open. But we do understand that these two are the two issues that are very important to the community.
All right, thank you. We have some comments here from Leslie, who is a neighbor, mentioning that they drive by the park almost every day, and the people who are able to use the park put a smile on their face, which is great. So there's a question here, though. It says, do you plan on incorporating feedback from the rest of the county and also visitors to San Diego? And I can take the first response to that. We will be posting a survey to our website, sdparks.org, and that survey will also be shared via our social media channels. So anybody in San Diego who follows us online on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or who visits our website, sdparks.org, will have access to that survey. We'll also continue to post flyers for future events and any other information we have locally at the park, and may also be distributing mailers to local residents. So I don't know if David, you want to speak about the outreach for this particular event and just what it might look like for future activities?
Yeah, definitely. So, and we're definitely open to other ideas for outreach, but we are, our plan is to use the survey and the results from the online survey to influence the design as quickly as possible. So once we have that up, we're going to get that out to as many folks as possible and start taking in the survey results on an ongoing basis. And then for future public meetings, which we plan to have throughout the design process, we'll follow both sending out flyers, physical flyers, and hitting up all the social media channels, and trying to make sure that we get both residents and businesses through our direct contacts that we've made thus far, and also just the channels that I mentioned a minute ago.
All right, great, thank you. We have a couple of questions here about parking, and so Christine is probably the best one to answer those questions right now. A question from Michelle, what are the plans for parking? And also from John, what are the plans for parking when the overnight lodging and amphitheater activities are taking place? Should those amenities be added to the park?
So currently we have about 30 parking spots in the park property. When we're looking at the overnight lodging, we're thinking, it's something like between 20 and 25 rooms. So it's not a huge amount of accommodations. We also have additional parking, which is I think little known fact, but at the Best Western, if you go by that parking, it says Heritage Park parking. So there's additional spots there. I apologize, I don't have the exact number of those, but those do belong to the county and they are for Heritage Park. the Best Western uses them as well, but we can reserve those to be exclusively for Heritage Park, for the guests that will be there. As far as for the amphitheater, it will be, the use will be, unless we change dramatically, the use would be very similar to what we have now. We have outdoor weddings, we have other events that take place there. And so the parking in Old Town, I know, is an issue, but it's part of the, kind of the fabric of Old Town. So we'll have events there, but there's not going to be overnight or additional parking for these events. People find their way, and the trolley station is very close by. It's close enough to walk to the park. So that's another way that people can access it. So I hope that answers your questions, but it's not, like I said, the overnight people will just park at the park overnight for the accommodations.
Great, thank you. And since I have you here, I have another question related to the park property itself. Would there be any bright lights added to the park?
That is to be determined question, but because the park has consistently been a sunset to sundown park, I don't think we're going to be adding additional lighting. And because we close early anyway, and part of that is, if I may just continue to answer, is the noise constraints. So currently we're aware that between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., 55 decibels at the property line is the limit. And so we are, during those events, we let people know before the events that they can't have sound louder than that. And then we monitor it during the event. Staff monitors during the event. So we will continue to do that. And there'll be, I urge anybody that to also contact us. If there is a complaint, we want to hear about it. And if it's, right at the moment, I've shared my personal phone number with many people before. I have a couple of people, they probably have me on speed dial and let me know, and then we go out there and turn it down. It's hard to have staff there all the time, but yes, we will continue to monitor the sound.
Sure. Thanks, Christine. We actually have a few comments related to sound. And that one of them was just, are there decibel limits for the park? And of course, the answer to that is yes. And that we usually have rangers on site specifically for the purpose of measuring the loudness of any activities that are taking place, and also helping to manage any issues because of it. So I encourage, like Christine was saying, any of you, if you hear something that sounds a little louder than normal, please don't hesitate to let us know. Inform county staff. We are happy to talk to the customers who are reserving the space, or whatever's taking place in that location. We can certainly take action to make sure that the sound is at a more moderate level. So I know there was an event that took place last night. It was from 4 to 6 p.m. It was a volunteer recognition event for the top volunteers in both Parks and Recreation across the county of San Diego, including a lot of private agencies. And so that was like one kind of daytime event. And I think I might have actually connected with you, Dan. I know you had some questions in there. So yes, please just keep reaching out to us, emailing us, calling us, and we'll make sure to take care of the issue. Okay, so I have a question here about overnight accommodations, and this is asking if we include them, if they would be run by the county, a private organization, or an existing hotel group. And that is a great question. And then part of that question is also, will the funds that are produced from those accommodations go back to the park itself as profit, or whoever is running them? So Christine, you want to take that one as well?
I will. So we'll be issuing an RFP, request for proposals, once we start building the facility, and to see if there's any operators that are interested in managing the facility. At the same time, us as a Department of Parks and Recreation, we will be also looking at if it would be better served, what the value would be in us managing the park. So so we don't know yet exactly what it will be, but the revenue will go back to the facility. And, depending if it's a private organization, we'll have probably a revenue share, and it will come back to the facility to continue to maintain it. That's basically what we do with all our parks. Any revenue that comes in, goes back into maintaining that same park and paying the staff that's there.
Great, thank you. All right, so we have a few questions from Jamie. Jamie's asking if the community will be given a chance to comment on the designs along the way. And the answer, of course, is yes. This is just the very first meeting. And I also wanted to apologize on behalf of our team. I know it popped up super last minute. We just kind of looked at the calendar of events and how many people, take time away during the holiday season, and we wanted to get that first public meeting on the books. So tonight's meeting one, we have another meeting live in person tomorrow night. And then Eric, if possible, can you pull up the schedule of events for this project, just so people can kind of see when those next timeframes are for public meetings and providing public input?
Yep.
And then
where would that be at,
Chelsea,
Jessica?
I'm sorry.
Where is the schedule of events? I can bring it up.
Very basic at this point, so we do not have a detailed schedule. But we are planning, like I mentioned, we're planning to have the next set of public meetings as soon as we have some basic concept designs. So we'd like some designs for folks to be able to react to give us some more detailed feedback. And so we're hoping that we can do that, because the holidays, we're looking at right after the holidays, like early to mid-January, to have that next meeting.
Okay.
Between now and then, again, we will have the survey up. We're going to be taking feedback, and everybody's welcome to contact me at any time.
Great. Yeah, so if you can attend, if you know somebody who couldn't attend tonight's meeting or tomorrow's meeting, the recording will be posted to our website, in addition to the link to the survey, and the survey is open to everyone. So there'll be several weeks for people to chime in there, to log on to that survey and provide their feedback. And as David was saying, we will take a look at all those results. We'll put together some preliminary designs, and then that will be presented in that early, January, February timeframe. So, okay. We have a question here about, if we were to add an amphitheater, what that proposed location might be. And so I don't know if Chelsea wants to jump in here.
Sure thing. So we are still, as we've kind of talked about this a little bit, is that we're still in the very beginning stages of determining the best location. If we can move forward with the amphitheater, that outdoor classroom, what that might look like and where the best location would be. So at the next public meeting, we hope to have a couple of proposed locations. And at that time, we would love to hear your feedback on where those might be and what that looks like. So we don't have any definitive answers right now, but we will definitely be coming back to the community once we have a couple of options for you all to review. If that's part of the proposed amenities as part of the project.
Great, thank you, Chelsea. We have a question from Michelle, who's asking about plans for traffic in the area. And I'm assuming this question is related to potential increase in traffic. Should we add some of those additional amenities? That may be a great question for our resource management division. I'm not sure if Crystal wants to say something here, or if that's more of a question for our development team.
Sure, I'm happy to take it. So we will be completing an environmental analysis as part of this project. So once we've designed the features, we will do a traffic study, a noise analysis, other technical studies to determine the potential level of impact, and then make any corrections with the design if we need to reduce those levels of impact. So don't have a specific answer yet. And really a lot of the final answers of how we will deal with traffic and noise will depend upon the design, which again, we're really hoping to hear back from you to help us form that design.
Great, thank you, Crystal. All right, here's a good question from Wesley that came in, asking if the revenue from any potential overnight rentals or just general park rentals would be used for park upkeep, maintenance, and improvements. So I'd like to bring Christine back on here to talk about our park maintenance plans.
Yes, the way that we handle the budget is that it's every park is budgeted by the revenue that it brings in. And so the revenue from each particular park pretty much stays in that park so that we can continue to maintain it and staff the facility. So any revenue from this project, from the overnight accommodations and the events will stay with the park to continue to maintain it.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, another question about the potential location of an amphitheater. The comment here saying that the canyon itself is a natural amphitheater where sounds can be heard at the top of Juan Street. So I don't know if Chelsea or David wants to talk a little bit about that, an area within the park property that could potentially house that small daytime amphitheater that was discussed earlier on.
Sure, I can go ahead and take that one. So the outdoor gathering space that we've been talking about, it could be located in the southeast open space, and we could also direct the sound away from the canyon. I know that sound and noise is a concern to the community, but yes, we're still going to be examining the best location for this proposed amenity if we move forward with it, and would want to mitigate any noise impacts where possible.
Thank you. We have a semi-related question about just the noise and the light pollution studies that we'll be conducting as part of our environmental review. Are we going to be also looking at the houses on the west side of Presidio Drive? As sometimes that noise seems to travel between locations. So Crystal, can you share a little more about how we conduct those studies and how far reaching they are?
Sure. So, again, a lot of the specifics of how we conduct the analysis is based on our proposal for the park. So really not knowing the specifics of the amenities and where they're going to be located, really can't speak to the specific receptors, but, just in general for both noise and traffic and air quality purposes, we look at what we call sensitive receptors. And from a noise perspective, certainly residences are some of those sensitive receptors that we consider in the analysis. So not being able to speak specifically to those homes, but generally, yes, we do consider residences in those studies.
Thank you. All right, so we have a question about monitoring the noise level, and we touched briefly on it, but we definitely could go back into it more. So who is responsible for monitoring that noise level? And I'll hand that to Christine.
Yeah, so currently it is park staff. There's always park staff in attendance, there at the facility when we have an event, and they monitor that sound like about once an hour. And like I said, if we have I can also provide a phone number if you have additional concerns about the noise. And so, yeah, park staff is who monitors that. And if we have, I just wanted to kind of there's another question about the times of the overnight of events. And we would, right now, because part of it is by design that there's no lighting there after sunset, so events don't go past generally 7 or 8. And so we only do events on Saturdays and Sundays at the park, in that outdoor areas. We understand that that's kind of our general, aside from some special events such as the one last night. But other than that, I don't know what the plan is because we don't know what kind of amenities we have, but generally the events are for Saturday, Sunday nights or days. And then, right, so we wouldn't have events that end at 10 p.m. That's not generally what we, currently is not what we do.
Thanks, Christine. And that's pretty common practice across a lot of our parks and preserves, throughout San Diego. Anytime we have special events, once that sun goes down, the events are over. We give nature a chance to rebound and take over the space and make sure that it's just a very pleasant atmosphere for all. So John had a question about the leaseholder running the lodging. I think, again, it's too soon to know exactly where we would be with that, but any considerations, of course, would be posted publicly. I think that answers that question. If not, please comment again and we'll make sure to address it. Dan, I think we got to your question about a plan to ban amplified sound or music. We have those restrictions in place for the decibel limit, and those are strongly enforced. All right, I have a question here. Are additional structures planned to be constructed, or will all hotel rooms be located inside the existing Victorian houses? So that's going back to the overnight or lodgings. David or Chelsea, do you want to comment on that?
Sure, yeah. The short answer is there will be no additional structures. And the exteriors of the existing Victorian houses will not change. We're only looking at renovating the interiors of those houses.
Okay, thank you. All right, Michael has a question. Has public money been identified to bring these upgrades, including completing those interior renovations on the buildings? So that would also go back to that development team, to Chelsea or David.
Yes, the county board of supervisors designated funds in the county budget for this project. And so that's how this project is funded. Yeah, I guess that answers the question.
Okay, and then while I have you on here too, do you know when that potential RFP would be issued, just rough time frame?
We're looking at a 1-year design phase. And so near the end of the design phase, we'll be looking at issuing an RFP for operations, and then considering that along with the consideration of the county operating the hotel. And then we'll also be putting out an RFP for the construction.
Okay, thank you. Jamie had a great comment in here, wanting the park to commit to that Saturday, Sunday ending at 7 p.m. moving forward. Those are great comments. So put all that in that survey. Once that survey is live, all of that is documented and pulled into the final consideration for the park operations plan. So thank you for that feedback. Keep it coming, and definitely also include it in the survey once you take that. All right, Dan has an excellent question about the Victorian houses and whether or not they would be modified to comply with ADA guidelines. Also, will fire escapes be added? Those are really great questions. So I don't know if that's probably a great question for our development team. We certainly have dedicated staff, and their primary focus is making sure that our parks and preserves and all of our amenities are ADA accessible. So I imagine that's a big part of this plan, but I will throw it back to development, to Chelsea.
Yeah, thanks, Jessica, and thanks, Dan, for asking this question. So yes, part of what we're doing as part of this effort is to make the interiors accessible to the public again, and part of that is having that ADA accessibility and also meeting the fire code requirements. So I'm not exactly sure how the design is going to look, but we will be meeting those fire code requirements and doing whatever is required to bring people into those interior spaces. As we move forward with the design, we'll obviously be keeping you all updated on what that looks like and how we'll be meeting those compliance requirements.
Great, thanks, Chelsea. Brian's asking if we're going to have a fundraiser for those renovations. Another great question, because I know a lot of big projects, especially high profile ones, have fundraising type of events. So I will hand that one also back to the development team, and just to discuss a little bit about how we secure funding for projects and whether or not we seek outside funding to help complete them.
Sure, I can jump in again. So for our fundraising efforts, we do a lot of grant funding. So we seek those public grants that are available. And we also have the funding that David Souls had mentioned as far as what we've already received. At this point, we are not going to be doing any public fundraising, but if that's a way that our team will decides to go, we'll obviously keep you all updated and ask for your help at that point. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks, Chelsea. Molly is asking if we can post the survey again. So Eric, I don't know if it's possible for you to pull up that slide that has the link to where that survey is going to be located. And another great way to remember where we post all of our surveys for stuff like this, if you go to our website, sdparks.org, and under plans, you'll see a page called public meetings. On that public meetings page, we post surveys, we post videos of our past meetings, and any other relevant information. So definitely feel free to check that out. Again, our website is sdparks.org, and you can just use the general Google search on the page, or you can actually click under plans, and you'll be able to see it under public meetings. All right. Okay, so Tracy has a question about parking for hotel guests being provided near the houses. So I think Christine covered it, but I'll let her jump on here too. I know we've got some dedicated parking on site at Heritage right now, and then also some dedicated parking nearby at the local hotel. Christine?
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's not going to be additional parking, but the guests will be able to park in those. Currently, they're just empty all night. So they'll be able to park there, and which is close to the houses, and in our additional parking at the Best Western.
Okay, thank you. And Christine, while you're still here, come back.
I'm back.
We have another question about noise limits. There's a neighbor here that's saying that they've experienced some occasions of overly loud parties that extended into the evening hours or after park personnel have left for the day. So do you want to talk a little bit about how our rangers patrol the area during events and after, and make sure everything is cleaned up and that the rules are abided by, but also what to do if you experience any issues and you want to report them?
So if you have, so after hours, if there's no planned event, then yes, park staff will go home. At that point, you got to call the SDPD to come in, because they have, they know as well what the park rules are. And they are the ones that can respond to that. We don't have overnight security at the park. It's generally not a problem, but if you see that, please call the police and have them come deal with the people. And then please let us know so that we're aware that happened, because after hours, we're just not aware. I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please put it on the chat. But yeah, and if it's happening, give me a call. I have my phone on me all the time.
Thank you. And just to confirm too, whenever the park is open, we have staff there, right? We have staff stationed patrolling that property or potentially properties within the area. But while the park's open, it's staffed.
Correct. Their staff, they patrol the park. We don't have staff on site every single day, but we do have people patrolling the park every day.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we have a comment from Jess in here. Let's see here. Will the park be guaranteed to be preserved as a community or neighborhood park with public access? This may not have been in some of the previous plans that were in that in the area of Old Town.
I can take that one, Jessica. This is actually a really good question, and it's important to think about for all parks. So our parks are protected by the Park Preservation Act, and so of course it's a park first, and we're not going to have a big hotel operator come in and turn this into like a bustling Hilton or something like that. And so the intent will be that this is a park and folks are able to have overnight accommodations in a park. And our RFP that we'll release will be tailored to that. And like Christine mentioned earlier, we're also looking at, does it make more business sense for us to provide that? So it's a really good question. I'm glad that came up tonight, because it's important to note that this is a park first. And this is a really cool opportunity for folks to stay overnight in a park. You'll see other examples of this, notably from the National Park Service in the South Bay of San Francisco, the Presidio, where you can have overnight accommodations in a national park. And so we're kind of modeling it similarly to that, where this will be a great experience if you stay there, but we also want to be respectful to the environment that we're going to be building in.
Great, thanks, David. Okay, great follow-up question to Christine's earlier comments. What are the staff hours for Heritage County Park?
So the staff hours, It depends on the day because I don't have enough staffing to be there, to have people there all the time. So I think Mondays and Tuesdays, we have patrols. The rest of the days, we do have dedicated staff. And during events, then we always have staff. So it varies. But for the most part, Wednesday through Saturday, we have somebody there from 7 to 5:30 or 6.
Thank you. All right, Jamie, great comment. The survey is not yet on the page that we mentioned. You are correct. If you want to bookmark it for now, it is coming shortly. So that survey will be posted following this meeting, and we'll make sure to also share it on our social media channels. And if you want to make sure you have it delivered to you directly, just email us. David Souls is the park project manager for this, and so he can send you the link as soon as it's officially live. All right, saw that question came up a few times. All right, Molly has a question that if we were to have an amphitheater, assuming that's what's preferred by folks who take the survey, how many seats would it have and what types of activities could we host there? That could be a mixed question, probably a Chelsea question to start with, and we'll see if we want to throw in some operations info too.
Sounds great. Yep. So like Jessica had mentioned, if we move forward with this outdoor gathering space, we do want to hear from you on what you think would be best. We want it to be functional for the community as far as what amenities, how many seats that you think, that would inspire you to use the space. So we do want to keep that open, and it's not determined yet as far as the seating available. And we're looking forward to your feedback.
Great, thanks, Chelsea. I mean, we have some other parks that have small amphitheaters on site. They're typically used for small ranger presentations. Certainly, there's no, amplified volume. It's where we, bring in birds of prey or reptiles, or we'll do a quick junior rangers program. So it's for small groups. I know in talking to the business community out there, there might be an interest for small teams of employees to come out and have like a staff lunch or a quick staff presentation. So nothing huge based on the location there, but I think the types of activities would be similar to what we typically host at our parks. And those are pretty small scale and mainly educational. Okay, Deanna is asking if the event venue hours could conform to the hours that are staffed by park rangers, and if that would help with any issues that come up after hours. 100%. Yep. Christine, you want to take that one?
Yeah. Yes. When we have events, we are always staffed. When there's a planned event, staff stays, we adjust schedules so that they're there later. The ones that I think I was speaking to before is somebody said that, sometimes there's like a party going on after hours, and those are not permitted. And so for that, yes, there's no staff on site, but please call PD and they should be able to come and deal with that.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, Brian has a question. How far east in the natural area of the park would we potentially expand park trails? And that's an excellent question. That may be an environmental resource management question, or it could also be a development question. So we'll see who turns off. Oh, Chelsea's going to take it.
All right. Yeah. So that's a good question. Thanks, Brian, for asking it. We don't currently plan to expand the trails as part of this project. So if that's something you're interested in or not interested in, please let us know as part of that survey. But at this point, we don't plan to include or expand the trails as part of the project.
All right, great. But we would hopefully be able to expand the educational programming we have at the park. There are so many really cool architectural designs there with that circle of homes, and being able to renovate the insides of them would just allow a lot of people to learn more about San Diego's unique past and our Victorian era architecture. So thank you. It looks like we have gotten through to the end of questions. I want to give you all a chance to chime in if there's anything else we missed. And just to remind you that that survey is not yet posted. It's a teaser tonight. We just told you where it's coming. We wanted to give you as much information as we had available right now, but that survey is coming. It will be posted soon, and we'll make sure you're informed. If you want to have it emailed to you directly, you can see David's email address is right here on the screen. feel free to send him a message. And once that survey is live, we'll make sure you get the link. And as soon as we have more information about the next public meeting, we will post it online. There will be a longer lead time. Again, we apologize for how quickly this meeting came up. It just kind of came up against a lot of other activities and, like I said, holiday schedules. But we are so happy to have so many of you here and actively participating in this meeting. So thank you for that. Please come back tomorrow. And then, of course, stay tuned to our channels for additional information. I think that might be all the questions. I might give it one more minute here to see if anything else comes up. And I'm not seeing anything. So I'm going to hand this back over to David to close the meeting.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica. And thank you everybody for all your wonderful questions. I personally am very excited about this project. It's such a great opportunity to make improvements to this park and continue to have Heritage Park be this unique place in Old Town. So again, my information's on the screen there. Please get in touch with me at any point. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you, everybody. Good night.